The drive starts right now.
Starts right now. Just living the dream.
Here's a guy who gets paid to talk.
1, 2, hold it back, you know what I mean? 1, 2, 3.
This is The Drive on 252 Fox Sports Radio, 107.5 FM, WWNB, 1490 AM worldwide, 252foxsports.com. Get us on the TuneIn Radio app, which is absolutely free. On your Google or Apple device, just download it today. Just do it. Download it today. It's just that easy. You can also find us on the Twitter, which is it the X, 252 Fox Sports. Find 252 Fox Sports on Facebook. Friday Night Football on Facebook, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And certainly The Drive with Mark Panichelli, and that is me. I'm Mark Panichelli, and glad to have you aboard on this Friday, my friends, and happy game day Friday, everybody, as we're set to turn on those lights in Eastern North Carolina. And tonight we've got Wes Craven and Havelock from Wilbur Sasser Stadium in Havelock. 7 p.m. kickoff here on 252 Fox Sports Radio, and we'll get you set for all of that, including the head football coach of the Havelock Rams, Brent Wooten, the head football coach of the West Craven Eagles, Mike Twitchell, and joining me right now, it's not going to be Friday without Brian North from News Channel 12 and Fox Eastern Carolina, the host of the Blitz. Happy Friday, Brian. It's great to have you back, and I guess summer has come to an end for us.
Yeah, it feels like it ended about a month ago for some of us, but at least the weather. I thought for sure we were going to be hurricaned out or something on this Friday night, and at least the weather has cooperated for 1 week. We're not counting our chickens before they hatch about next week, but at least for 1 week, we're getting a break from Mother Nature.
Yeah, I saw that forecast like a couple weeks ago, and I thought, yeah, here we go. For week one,
Yep.
And we're already going to have to be rescheduling games and all this stuff. So fortunately, looks like everything is good, and I'm with you. So let's hope this is, in the spirit of Bob Uecker's Major League thing where it's the leadoff batter of the year sort of sets the precedent for the whole season. Let's hope that this hurricane thing from week one sets the table for the rest of the year, and we can get could you imagine a year where we don't have any sort of disruption from weather?
Well, it's rare around here. I think we've had a couple that hasn't been too bad, but Eastern North Carolina now, it's a crapshoot. And we deal with the years where we have weeks off where we have to deal with. But, I always thank my lucky stars, and I always trying to put it in perspective. Look, field conditions aren't going to be great still. We still have a lot of saturated fields from all the rain. That's going to cause some issues, but we're in a drying out period where at least it's not going to be swamp fest to start the year. At least we don't think too bad. Look, there's going to be some fields, again, they're going to have some issues, but at least it's not falling from the skies and making it worse.
Oh, gosh, yeah. All right, so excited too as we start a new era of Friday Night Football, as we have been doing this for many years, and for this season we are going to be covering the West Craven Eagles home and away, and I'm again excited about it for sure as a former West Craven Eagle. And again, very appreciative, Mike, covering the New Bern Bears all those years, and I'm sure again I am very grateful for that, and they're in capable hands with the folks at New Bern Live. But I just think this is going to be really fun for me. And I was thinking as we start off this, for everybody listening tonight, 7 o'clock, West Craven and Havelock on 252 Fox Sports Radio, 107.5 FM. Find 252 Fox Sports on Facebook as well, and Friday Night Football on Facebook, and we'll have coverage there. But I was telling everybody, I think I was telling Chop, my one of the guys on my crew, about the year that a hurricane made the West Craven Havelock game. What was it, a month, or what was it? How long was it that they had? It was the first half, and then the hurricane came. Yep. We had to cancel the game and play the other part of it like a month later. So it was one of the most bizarre circumstances. And luckily, again, as we were just talking about the weather, we're not going to have that issue this year.
Mark, I believe that was 9 years ago now.
Oh my
2016,
gosh.
I believe they played that game when Wes Craven had that awesome team.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur was the quarterback, and Havelock had a kid named Tony Sharp, who was their running back, who I always like to say transferred at halftime. They called the game at halftime. The Hurricane came in. Might have been Matthew, Michael, one of those.
Yes.
And they couldn't resume it till about 4 weeks later, and the young man decided Havelock was not the place for him anymore, and he transferred to East Carteret, where Caleb King was the head coach at that time, and was able to start playing for the Mariners. They were able to do all the proper paperwork, but Havelock's starting running back transferred at halftime of that game that they completed later, which, oh, by the way, Wes Craven won. And then they met in the playoffs later that year, and Havelock ended up beating Wes Craven in the third round of the playoffs, I believe, right around Thanksgiving time of that season. So remember it very well, but that was just one of the many legendary games these programs have had, going back to Wilbur Sasser and Clay Jordan when they went head-to-head for so many years, matching wits when the two teams were 3A powers.
Yeah, and when I think about this game, and again the difference in the schools now than you go back to years ago. Again, the schools are built at the same time. I think it's 76, 77. They have
72.
an almost identical floor plan, Brian, and so it was always bizarre the first time you were you went to the one school and you went to the other one, and you thought, wait, what kind of weird. But over the years, West Craven's student population's gone down, and Havelock's has maintained a little bit bigger. So again, they're not in the same conference anymore, but with the county rivalry still there, it's always one of these where both sides of the stands are always packed. Doesn't obviously it's a huge draw, but you mentioned that team of was it 9 years ago, and again, there hasn't been a whole lot of success between Wes Craven and for Wes Craven in this series again, and I think it's largely because of the difference in the fact that Wes Craven has sort of dropped the numbers where Havelock's maintained it and still a little bit of a larger school. However, again, the intensity and the rivalry is still there and certainly strong amongst the fan bases.
Wes Craven has been competitive in some of these games, and I agree with all the things you said. Population difference, school size difference. Wes Craven has dropped down now, and I can't even tell you where they are in these new reclassification of the 8 teams. I don't know who's a 5, 4, 3, 2. I haven't.
Me neither.
That stuff has not sunk in yet because it's not that important to me yet. We'll get it. I'm still trying to figure out who's in the same conferences and who's not. So
yeah.
But it's made some really unique rivalry games here to kick off the season. But for Wes Craven, now they've been competitive in certain years, and it all has to do with scheduling. Wes Craven's had such brutal schedules that the last couple of years when they played Havelock, it's been a little bit later in the season, and they've been beat up by New Bern and beat up by East Duplin and beat up by some of these other teams. Now they're fresh going into this game, and they have a really good senior class that was touted JV champions 3 or 4 years ago. They've got a great quarterback who's got a lot of receivers to throw to, a good offensive line. Wes Craven's had some transfers come in. It's usually people transferring out of the Vanceboro program, but now there's been a few guys added to the program that Mike Twitchell can use. So they are optimistic. Both teams are picked to win their conferences respectively. Havelock going down in basically weight class size and going to a conference that's much more easily winnable for them in their pedigree compared to who they're going to be playing instead of being in the New Bern League and J.H. Rose League. So both picked to win their conferences. I think it's going to be a great competitive game. It helps, again, first game of the year, both teams are going to be fresh. Best athletes are going to be out there playing. And so I think that's what's going to make this such a close game. That's why it's our Blitz premier matchup.
Yeah, going to be always. I mean, again, I have memories. I don't know, 40 plus years it feels like of this rivalry. And you mentioned the historic coaches who have the stadiums and the fields named after them in Sasser and Jordan. But the current coaches, I mean, I give some credit, I think, to Wooten and of course Twitchell. And I think you mentioned it. Twitchell's the elder statesman in the county, that being said, these are two really good coaches, and I think we will certainly. The players will determine what happens on the field, but I mean, when I think about quality coaches, even obviously outside of Craven County, but around Eastern North Carolina, Coach Wooten and Coach Twitchell, I mean, really two of the best in the area.
I think this is year number 10 for Coach Twitchell already there. It just still kind of feels like he's the new guy there, but we're talking, I think it's 10 years now that he's been at West Craven, and he's just been bitten by bad luck, injury bug through the years, but every year he puts out a quality program with quality young men and does a great job with it. It's just they haven't had the luck. And then you talk about Coach Wooten. He's got the great staff with his twin brother Alan there, and of course Caleb King, who's been a head coach before. And they just have the program. When I think of Havelock, I just think of a program with the feeder system, with the coaches who are all out about in the community. It's something that West Craven's trying to be, right? West Craven has got their booster club going, modeling what Havelock has done in the past. They've try to emulate some of the facilities and some of those things. And it's hard to do now. Havelock's been at it for a while. Jim Bob Bryant's the one who really got that thing elevated to the next level. Wilbur Sasser was great, but Jim Bob made it more of a program, and then they've kind of carried on those traditions ever since then. And I think West Craven's trying to do the same thing, upgrade its facilities, upgrade the experience for the student athletes, upgrade the press box, upgrade the uniforms and the safety conditions. So Justin Morris, the guy behind the scenes, and Hud Jordan behind the scenes are some of those guys who are trying to get that program on that level. So I think they're headed in the right direction. But Havelock certainly has that full coaching staff. Bob Sabdo's been there a long time, and Coach Frazier, who's been there forever, and so they just have that longevity on the staff. I know Mike Twitchell's had to turn some guys over. He's been through a few coaches trying to get some of that longevity as well. He's had Clay Jordan with him there and has taught him so much, and is back again this year helping out. But I think Mike and the West Craven program still trying to get to that level that Havelock has established as being so great.
And again, that's tonight, 7 p.m. kickoff from Havelock, West Craven and Havelock, 107.5 FM. Find us on Facebook as well, 252 Fox Sports and Friday Night Football. And I think we're going to post a replay on YouTube on Saturday morning. So we'll just go to our social media. Say that again.
I'm so proud of you and the technology. Look at you go.
I'm trying to keep up with you, Brian. You got it going on over there. So let's move over and talk about some of these other matchups. And I'm gonna go to this is a good one. But it is a couple of hours from here, from where we're located currently, Brian, and New Bern and New Hanover, two programs rich in just success and wins, and they played some great. Talk about great battles. They were in conference mates for many years, and I was involved in a lot of those. Talk about the just battles they had down there, and was it Legion Field down there in Wilmington? So I think this is going to be one of the great matchups across the state, and again, two of the better historic programs in the whole eastern part of the state here, and former conference mates between the Wildcats and the Bears.
Yeah, they'll play on that field turf, which is great. So you don't have to worry about field conditions when you go down there. And New Hanover is back on the rise. These are two of the more consistent teams when you talk about Eastern North Carolina. You have Hoggard in Wilmington, and then you have New Hanover. Laney's trying to get back into it with Steve Brooks, who was a former New Bern assistant back in the day, Jacksonville native, head coach at CBA Cock. He's been around places. Now he's the new head coach at Laney. So he's trying to get the Buccaneers and Michael Jordan's alma mater back up to where they would like it to be. But it's been Hoggard and New Hanover. And Ashley, I'll tell you, Ashley's kind of come on in Wilmington. They were the Beach Boys and didn't have a very good football program, but they're starting to build a culture there too. So Wilmington football is going pretty well right now. But New Hanover and Hoggard are the class of it. And with New Hanover and their facilities and their long tradition, back to the Trot Nixon days. And so, this is a great test for New Bern to start the year. And on paper, New Bern's offense looks loaded. They've got some things to work out defensively in the back end, but defensive line, they're going to be good. But offensively, you got your quarterback back. You've got one of your star receivers back. You've got your running back back in the Duke, Carshawn. You've got most of your offensive line back. So, and New Bern playing on that turf where they can be even faster. Excited to see what the Bears look like on Friday night on the road.
I'll tell you, man, you brought up all the stories, and I didn't get to see it, but the Trot Nixon stories between Cy Seymour and many of the people that have covered high school football in our area, I've heard some great Trot Nixon stories from out of New Hanover. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you got a few. So let's you mentioned Laney. Let's talk about one of the other matchups. As I'll just randomly go around. Laney's at Conley tonight. So a great matchup between the Vikings and the Buccaneers, and of course Steve Brooks pretty familiar with the area.
Yeah, Pitt County, he spent a long time. He actually has a house in Winterville. So his son went to Aiden Grifton last year, and Steve was an assistant there last year. He was a longtime assistant at Aiden Grifton with Paul Cornwell before he went and took the head coaching job at CBA Cox. So Steve's moved around, but this was an opportunity he said he couldn't turn down. And so it's kind of funny. His first game is going to be in Pitt County, right down the road from where he's been living. And look, they're going to have a tough task. DH Conley looks like it's pretty good. I watched them scrimmage against Tarboro. They match a lot of Tarboro's physicality. They've got a senior quarterback in the Cabell kid who's tall and can chuck it. And then it's your typical DH Conley team, right? A bunch of smaller guys on the line who know how to angle block. Some smaller, shiftier wide receivers. They got a decent-sized running back. So I think there's higher hopes for Nate Connor and the Hollywood Crossroads this year. They've had a couple of leaner years than they've been used to since Holt Naylor's left, and I think they're trying to kind of get back up into that upper echelon of the Big Carolina Conference again. And it's going to be a good test against Steve Brooks and the Laney Buccaneers at the Hollywood Crossroads tonight.
I don't even know where to go. I've just got random games all over here. Let's go to West Carteret at Jacksonville, which, again, Jacksonville and the success that they've had in Bo Williams' tenure there. And again, I think the expectations are always going to be high for them. And for West Carteret, there's certainly some expectations here. And from what I'm hearing, I think a lot of the Carteret County schools have a little bit of expectation this year. So what your thoughts on the Patriots and the Cardinals?
West Carteret's got a quarterback named Tanner Payne who's already verbally committed to play at Elon next year, and that he can spin it now. He's one of the better quarterbacks we're going to see in the area, and he's got a big tight end receiver that he gets to throw it to, some other good receivers. I don't think West Carteret's going to have trouble scoring points this year. But when they get against a defensive-minded team like Jacksonville, this is going to be the big storyline of this one. Jacksonville's breaking in a new quarterback. They have Pat Bird back as their offensive coordinator, the head coach at Richlands for the last several years. Pat decided he wanted to get back to being an assistant coach and is going back to Jacksonville, where he helped lead them to a state championship game and has had success running his system and with his quarterback. So I'm curious to see what they look like offensively. But this is your classic offense versus defensive game at Bobby Simpson Memorial Field. And look, Bo's going to have another quality team ready. My favorite side story of all of this, Bo and his daughters and his wife, they got a new dog this year, and they named it Blitz. And so they've been sending me pictures of their dog wearing a Blitz. It's not one of our Blitz shirts, but it's a dog jersey that has Blitz on it. So that's been kind of funny. So, but no, that's another classic matchup of offense versus defense in that one that we'll be keeping an eye on.
The pressure they're putting on you. It's obvious now because every year or every couple of years you get these batch of shirts and then everybody begs you for them. I've been begging for 20 years, Brian. Anyways, but now you got to come up with pet clothes. It appears now, Brian, you're going to have to get a custom Blitz dog shirt for Blitz. I can't believe your life has come to this, but I think we have to make it happen.
This is why I don't do the clothes shopping in my household, because I would say, here's a shirt, grow into it. That's what I do with my daughters. So that's what I'll do with Blitz the dog. Go get a Blitz t-shirt. And I'll say, Blitz, you got to grow into it.
Yeah, that's what we did. When I was a kid, they just handed us a needle and some thread, and they said, make your clothes. And that's not entirely true. But they did say, get up and go to work, and you had to buy your own clothes for school. Now, we did do that.
Did you ever have jeans that your mom would hem up? Like you get really big jeans, and my mom used to hem them. So they would be, you cuff them up, put them in the inside, and she would put a seam in. And as you grew, they take the hem out and rehem them, and your jean legs would have these like stripes, like on a tree, rings on a tree. These stripes of your jeans to see how big you got over the years. But hemmed up jeans, man, that's what we used to have growing up.
No, absolutely. And again, I was raised by my grandmother, but she was a seamstress by trade and even made money on the side. So yes, Brian, not only were my jeans hemmed, but I would say a large portion. Now, I made fun of me making my own clothes, but I'm telling you, my grandmother did make me clothes. So,
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
that is a true story. So, all right, let's get back to the football and Farmville Central at Washington. So, your thoughts on the down across the Tar River? How do you think the Pan Pack are going to look this year?
It's going to be interesting. Brian Pascal's back as their head coach. Fun story. This is, us old guys like to do this. Brian Pascal was the head coach at Washington when I got here in 1998. He was the head coach of the Pan Pack from 1996 to 2001 and coached guys like Terrence Copper. Then he left and he's made the rounds, but now he came out of retirement and he's back with the Pan Pack again. What is this? Almost 30 years later, 29 years later, he's back with the Pan Pack. So that's interesting to see how he can try to put his imprint back on that culture, because everywhere Brian Pascal has coached, he wins. Now he's bringing in former Havelock quarterback Travis Sabda as his offensive coordinator. And so curious to see what they look like. Ron Cook is in year number 4 or 5 with Farmville Central, and he's had the full impact on these kids who are now seniors. And he's got a quarterback he's excited about, and B.J. Gardner. So this is going to be another good matchup. But we're curious to see what the Pan Pack has. They've shown some signs of life the last couple of years. They competed for a conference title last year. But can they take that next step under Brian Pascal, who he gets the most out of these kids?
Oh man, that's old school right there, Coach Pascal. All right, let's go to Pitt County. I got a couple of games. Let's go first with let's see. How about Martin County and North Pitt? So Martin County, that's what they've decided. They finally have stuck with a name, right? Am I right about this? This was the school that didn't have a name?
Yeah, so 15 years ago, you had 4 schools consolidate down to 2 in Martin County, and they did not want to do that. No one in Martin County wanted to consolidate, but they did. And then those 2 schools consolidated 3 years ago athletically and consolidated for real last year. And so now they have everybody on the same page. This year, they're the Martin County Gators. They've got new uniforms and new decals and all that stuff. They're big on the black and the teal with some orange in there as well. They've got a new head coach in John Wheeler, who's trying to still kind of bring all of these diverse communities together. They've had some issues there now with discipline and getting some of these old rivalries out of people's blood, but now he thinks he has them on the same page. He's got 3 guys who have already received Division I scholarship offers, so they have some talent there now. And so him trying to put it together in his first year, they head to North Pitt, where C.J. Wilson is in, I think, year number 4 is the head coach, the former Northside High School star out of Yeatsville, who played for the Packers and won a Super Bowl. He's got a bunch of his nephews playing for him now in Bethel. Lost his quarterback, famous Wilson, but he's got Ethan Wilson back. So we think this is going to be another big rivalry game that we're excited about. But John Wheeler, who's coached at Chowan and UNC Pembroke and high schools in the Northeast, now taking over at Martin County. And he's pretty well thought of in the coaching industry. So we're curious to see what kind of imprint he has at Martin County. The Gators have potential to be a pretty good team this year.
Wow, it's like a modern day T.C. Williams, Remember the Titans kind of story there in Martin County. So let's keep it in Pitt County and go over to let's see, where was it? I think I had one more Pitt County. Didn't I have one more Pitt County? Yeah, South Central.
J.H. Rowe, South Central, and Aiden Grifton all in action as well.
That's right. So let's start with Kinston and South Central, Falcons and the Vikings.
South Central has a new head coach in Ryan Bowie. He's one of 3 Bowie brothers. One of them, he has coaching with him. I believe it's Tyler, and I might be wrong with this, but Tyler is going to be coaching for him. And their other brother, Corey, is still an assistant at Kinston. So we dubbed this the Bowie Bowl because Ryan's going to be calling the offensive plays, and his youngest brother, which I believe is Tyler, is the defensive coordinator over at Kinston. So they're going to be matching wits, and they talk every day on the phone. And Ryan told me that they're just like lying to each other right now about what they're going to run, but they still talk every day. So, look, Kinston's loaded this year. Kinston has got a quarterback back who's getting Division I looks and 2 Division I wide receivers. Tyreek Copper, I mentioned Terrence Copper before, who played at ECU and in the NFL for 10 years. His son Tyreek is verbally committed to play for NC State. And now on the other side, they got a transfer from Spring Creek. I think Manning is his last name, but he is verbally committed to play at Marshall. So, no shortages who they're going to throw to. Their offensive line is back. All their defense is back. They just got to find a running back. And I keep saying, you and I, Mark, could probably rush for 1,000 yards on that offense this year. So, Kinston is loaded. Now, they're going way up in weight class, playing a South Central team, trying to find its identity. But that's the storyline, is the Bowie Bowl, and how good will Kinston be?
Yeah, I've met a few of those Bowies over the years. Bowies, they're Pirates. The Wootens are Tar Heels. Also, big guys, but yeah, and then the Bowies, those guys are big at Pirates. I feel like I ran into them at a tailgate at East Carolina.
Yeah, they are originally from the Virginia Beach area, but all 3 ended up going to East Carolina and graduating and sticking around the area to coach football.
All right, so let's let me see. Let's go with you mentioned Aiden Grifton at Princeton.
Yep, Aiden Grifton has a new head coach in Garrett Wingate. He's another one that's highly thought of, good young coach who takes over for Paul Cornwell. He was Paul's offensive coordinator the last 2 years, so he knows the system. Lost his quarterback, but he's got one of the best athletes around in E.J. Ruffin, who's a really good running back and a really good receiver. They're going to be well coached. He's got a good staff, so we're expecting good things, but it's a tough test. Princeton's one of those good programs. They play on the turf out in Johnston County, so that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Again, then I could not get out of Pitt County without talking about the J.H. Rose Rampants, who are going to take on Northern Nash on the road. So, again, I remember last year J.H. Rose had such a roller coaster, just up and down, and I remember the early part of the year, some stumbles. So I'm obviously, I'm sure a lot of people would like to see them get out of the gate better this year.
J.H. Rose started 0-5 last year, including a loss at Northern Nash. Barely made the playoffs, then went on a really big run, including beating Northern Nash. So there's some fresh blood there and feelings that are going on as they return to the Rocky Mountain area. J.H. Rose, capitalizing off of that momentum, is the pick to win the Big Carolina Conference this year over New Bern. So a lot of high hopes there. We have them as number 1 in our News 12 poll to start the year. Not with a lot of confidence because there's such good teams like Kinston and Tarboro and New Bern and Havelock and West Craven. But right now we're starting Rose as number 1, but they got to go prove it this Friday night, returning to Northern Nash, who was 10-1 last year. Their only loss was in that playoff, and so they'll be back loaded again, and so that's going to be an awesome game. But Willie Bland, we're going to find out what his Rampants have right away.
Yeah, and look, I on that note, I think we should just go ahead and interject, because I think we say this every year. And you can say this about any sport, almost on any level. But at the same time, I think it really holds true in high school sports, and specifically what we're talking about high school football is, we got some idea, because you were talking about the number 1 team in your poll, but it's one of those where you really need 2 to 3 weeks to really get a feel of what the narrative's going to be. And even then, sort of what we were talking about last year, or with last year's J.H. Rose team, who started off 0-5 and then bounced back and then found themselves in the playoffs. So I think the fact is, we do feel like we know, but until we get a couple of weeks under our belt, we can bring up all the games, the Croatan, East Carteret, which was next on my list. We think East Carteret, again, I mentioned some expectations. I think Croatan, obviously, too, some expectations there. But until we get a couple of games under our belt, it's really just so hard to tell.
Right, and it's all about these matchups. And we've got some great rivalry games we're going to find out right away. Havelock and New Bern play next week, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge game right off the bat that's going to figure out who's the one of the top teams in Craven County. You've got East Duplin and Wallace playing tonight. They've never started the season against each other. They usually play for a conference title at the end of the year, but because of the redistricting and the redrawing of conferences, not only are they not in the same conference this year, they're not even in the same playoff classification. So the only time they can play was this week. So you're starting off with 2 of the best in Duplin County right away to figure out who's the best there. So, and East Duplin looks like they're loaded. Wallace is dealing with some injuries, but that's that's the type of thing that you got to figure out here early. And so, yeah, we've got great matchups to try and create that pecking order and then see how things play out through the years. Teams get over these injuries, get better, and it's all about who gets better from week 1 to week 16.
All right, before I wrap up, and again, there's so many matchups, and I know you're covering. I can't even think the amount, and I'm just trying to mention a few of them, but I do want to at least squeeze in from our listening area on 107.5 FM. Pamlico is going to take on Kip Pride, and or is it Kip? We'll figure that out one day. And Jones Senior going to be at South Lenoir to start off the season. So as Jones Senior, I think we've talked about it. They've going back to 11-man football.
Yes. Yeah. Stephen Perry had them at 8-man last year. The idea was to regain confidence, build the program back up, get some numbers. But then when the state decided to reclassify, they said, well, we think we can compete now again. And so they're back in their conference, Coastal Plains, with Pamlico and Northside and Southside and Lejeune and East Carteret, some of the same teams, but they think if they can get to the playoffs that they can make some noise there as they try to rebuild their program. Second year for Stephen Perry, still trying to get the numbers up. They're going to South Lenoir, Deep Run, another program trying to rebuild. And so these are two programs kind of in similar areas, so that'll be a really competitive game. And I love the hire that Pamlico County made. Brandon Akins, I've known Brandon for a long time. He's a former Swansboro high school lineman who's been an up-and-coming assistant coach under some great coaches, Bo Williams at Jacksonville for many years, and then he's been at Havelock the last couple of years. And he brought one of Havelock's assistants with him, Donnie, to be a member of his staff. And so they're trying to build that culture they learned at Jacksonville and Havelock, two of the best programs in the area. We talked earlier about Havelock's program. They're trying to build that now in Bayboro, and they've always had athletes there. It's just about getting the infrastructure to work right for them. And so I like what they're doing so far, the support they're getting. They're building the new school there. The interesting thing I saw Brandon do is the helmet decal. They made it into a block lettering, and it's canes, but it's a lot like cards on the Jacksonville helmet. And it's kind of an homage to Jacksonville and Bo Williams and how they built that program. And he's trying to model his team after those who have done it right before.
And somewhere the Bears and the Scots are also sort of echoing that. If it's that same helmet design we were talking about, the old Giants kind of logo. Yes, the old New York Giants.
Yep, Chip Williams and then Bo took it with him and is adopted it after that. And I have to go see. I know Scotland did it. I don't know if J.H. Rose did it before, where Chip was, and Bertie County, those places. But that's certainly the one they adopted at New Bern when he took over in 2001, the 90s, and then rebuilt the program there into a perennial state contender.
Tonight on News Channel 12, in fact, I'm getting ready to say, why don't I just let you explain to everybody the ways they can get the Blitz? Because I've been doing this for years, and I feel like every year you make a little tweak here and there about times and all this stuff.
Right.
But look, scores and highlights and so much more. Brian, how can they get all of it?
So we're back in our traditional time slot on ABC, where we've been for many years on WCTI. We'll be going on around 11:05, 11:10, and we'll be doing our normal Blitz there. Now, last year, when Fox Network ended up having college football games, we then did a Blitz Extra on Fox. But because Fox is doing something different this year, they're still doing football games, but it's a lot of West Coast games, and they've got some volleyball games in, and so they're going to be going on much later. So we are not going to be going on Fox late night, but we will be rebroadcasting on WCTI Saturday mornings. I believe 7:30 is the block that they picked to air a half-hour Blitz.
Nice.
And then we are doing something with YouTube this year. We are going to, it's my understanding, we will retape for YouTube where we don't have to worry about commercial breaks and time segments, and we can go a little bit longer in our highlights and our explanation of games. So that's kind of where everything is right now. Again, we're making changes. This has been kind of, some years you're ahead of it, you got the game plan down. Other years you're adjusting to your personnel and trying to figure out some late rules changes and audible changes, and that's kind of what this year is for us. we're kind of going to be making some of it up on the fly here, but traditional times. And then I think YouTube's going to be a big one for us this year. And of course, Facebook and Twitter, and we'll have all that stuff there as well.
Joining me now, the head football coach of the Havelock Rams, Brent Wooten. And Coach, good afternoon. It is great to talk to you, and I'm excited to talk to you. Happy football season to you.
Yes, it's like Christmas Day. I mean, I've been looking forward to Friday night all week, and it's always good to get together and talk football with other football fans. So I'm excited.
Oh man, well, this is when I think about great football, and look, Eastern North Carolina, we're spoiled, especially in Craven County, where you've got these just great programs. But there's just great football across Eastern North Carolina. And Coach, I think about last year. We're going to pick up from there. Last year, just an unbelievable 12-2. Get 4 rounds into the playoffs. That Jacksonville thing comes up again. And so, anyways, with all of that being said, we've got changes in conference. The whole state has started a whole new way that we. It's not only new conferences, but we're up to 7A and all this. So it's been an interesting offseason. But I want to pick up from where you were last year. And as I said, it was a lot of success last year. But boy, but as I said, I'm sure there's still a lot of where you feel like, man, and I know one of those games was a 1-point loss against New Bern. But talk to me about the transition from last year to this year.
We had a really successful year last year. We had a lot of really, really good senior football players. We were senior heavy. Those guys worked hard. We played Jacksonville twice. It's really tough to beat a good football team twice. And, we beat them in the regular season. And in the second half, they had a really good football player break some big runs against us. And, there's a reason he's playing at UNC this year. And, that's a testament to Coach Williams and what he does over in Jacksonville. They're a well-coached group. And, they came out in the second half and kind of took control of the game. And we had to fight our way back and just couldn't get over the hump. That game against New Bern was, Coach Saxby does a great job. We were up at halftime there, and they fought in the second half like you expected. New Bern's a well-coached team as well, and they beat us by a point. But, we had a lot of success. We won 12 games, and, we're excited to transition to a new year and a new team. And, we got some new leaders that we want to kind of showcase Friday night. We're looking forward to a football game against a really good West Craven team.
Yeah, and so to pick up from last year to this year, and you kind of talked about this. It's going to be a little bit of a different looking team with faces. Now, again, the tradition at Havelock and the hard work and the practice, all that's still there. But again, that's why you build a program, right, Coach? Is because the players are going to change, but the program still continues to churn out. But as I said, you're going to have some new, as you were alluding to, some new faces on Friday night, some guys that are going to need to pick up from where some of your seniors graduated.
Yeah, we got 5 returning seniors, that have been a part of our varsity for 3 years, and 4 of them have started on our defense since they were sophomores. So we do have a good core to build around defensively, and some of those guys are going to step over and play a little more offense this year as well. And we had a really strong JV program last year, and Coach Richards and Coach Akins, who have now been blessed with the opportunity to take over Pamlico, really did a good job getting some of those guys prepared. We're probably relying on a few more sophomores than we typically do, but the guys have worked hard. We're really trying to make sure we understand who we are this year, and although the tradition is here, each team has to earn the respect of everybody else. It's just not going to be handed to them, and that's what we talked about: going out, taking care of business, paying attention to details, and that's the only way you're going to beat good football teams. And we play a lot of good football teams this year.
Yeah, and I wanted to hit on this because I know, we talk about player turnover for certain, but when I look at your staff now, mind you, I do want to say we all get along on Friday nights, and then myself and you and your brother, we argue because of the Eagles and Commanders rivalry. But that being said, I have been noticing, and again, I'm good friends with Coach King over the years, and but I also, I've noticed, Coach, you got replacing staff members where you're going to get when you have a successful program. You certainly are able to put kids in the next level and play football at the next level, but oftentimes you're going to get your assistants and some of the the staffing that you require on all of a sudden become coveted staff members at other schools. So that becomes a part of the process too of replacing not only players but coaches.
I think ultimately, most coaches have a desire to at least have an opportunity to run their own program. And, we're blessed on our current staff with 5 former head coaches. So, we have a lot of good leadership built in. Ultimately, I think a couple of those guys would eventually look to run their own programs again in the future. We were pretty blessed. We brought on Jody Stouffer from Croatan, used to be the head coach at Lee County, to handle our D-line. Got a couple of former players back in the mix to help us coach. And that's the good thing. A lot of times when you are successful, you lose people, but you have other people on, at the doorstep waiting for their opportunity. And so that's a lot of these new guys are really taking advantage of the opportunity to coach with us. And it's we're going to miss those 2 gentlemen, but it's been, a nice smooth transition to new hires and getting our offensive and defensive staffs together on the same page.
All right, Coach. Well, let's talk about this matchup. And I've talked to Brian North about this as well. But I'm very familiar. Went to West Craven, but in my time, West Craven and Havelock were closer in student population, and over the years, obviously, where Havelock's been able to maintain a little bit more of that, West Craven has dipped in some numbers, and so. A lot of that has played into it. And look, again, it's not taking away anything from the success of Havelock for sure, but it's certainly still a great rivalry. The fan bases certainly remember a lot of the great matchups for sure. The kids obviously will, the familiarity there. And so it's still one of the great environments. You'll have a pack that no matter where they play, and of course it's at Havelock this year, but talk to me about the game, the rivalry, as I said, which has been certainly heavily leaning towards Havelock in the recent years, but just that environment and what you're expecting to see from your Havelock team, and really what you're expecting to see from West Craven this Friday.
Well, if you have to figure out a way to get up for Craven County football against your Craven County rivals, then you really don't understand what the core of high school football is. I've been in Craven County now for 9 years, and West Craven's a lot like from a school standpoint, North Pitt, where I came from, and it's a very large rural population around Vanceboro, and it's tough for a lot of kids to drive 25 miles to practice. We face it at North Pitt all the time, so I know Coach Twitchell deals with some things differently than we do because most of our kids are fairly close to our campus, and it's a other than Harlow, we have a lot of kids that can walk to practice when we have it. You're not walking to West Craven High School for practice, so that's something that they deal with that we don't. But Coach Twitchell's done a great job keeping that program, successful. If you look every year, they seem making a deep playoff run. They get stronger as the year goes on. And if you look at, their returners, they return one of the best football players in the state, in my opinion, in DJ Davis. And if you talk about these rivals, they have, Emmanuel Miller on the D line. They got Mr. Seamster that's played on the O line for a few years, and they moved around to like a little tight end H-back. They've got players that have been playing against our kids for a long time. So this is about bragging rights. It's about pride in the county. We have to be ready on Friday night. I know they're going to be ready on Friday night. And the fact of the matter is, these are 2 really good football programs that I think both, when the year ends, you'll see with successful seasons.
Absolutely. All right. Now, I've said this, and so I'm going to ask the same question to Twitchell, because you look, wins. I mean, everybody. That's an objective everybody's looking forward to, and I think health. Look, I think every coach, no matter what, you want to start the game and finish the game with the same amount of healthy players, right? I think that's always an objective. But aside from that, really, what do you want to see out of your team on Friday night against West Craven, aside from the obvious?
I mean, the biggest thing you want to see is growth from your scrimmage. For a lot of our guys, it's the first time they ever participated in a varsity football game. And so when we get into, we've had the opportunity to play against Kinston, and now we have an opportunity to play against West Craven. The objective, obviously, had the most points on the score at the end, and that's what we're going to do our best to do. But, we've talked about a lot, every rep means something. Every rep in practice, every rep in the weight room, it's a lot about the process. If we focus on the process and pay attention to the details and, offense, defense, special teams, then, what happens Friday night will be a victory for our team, because we want to show that growth. But I'll be honest with you, I've been coaching a long time. It's a lot easier to grow from wins than it is from losses. So scoreboard does mean something. But, when we sit back and evaluate film, it's just going to be the little things. Are we going, is the offensive line going to the right people that they're supposed to block? Are running backs hitting the right holes? Are receivers running the correct routes? Defensively, are all our gaps covered? Are we having any coverage issues? Those are the things that we look at our first film on Saturday morning, late Friday night, that we'll go back and we'll use as teaching tools, because every week we need to get better. Everybody wants an opportunity to play in the playoffs, and we're 5A now in these new classifications in this new coastal conference, and we know that we have a lot of goals: Craven County championships, conference championships, and state championships. But you can't win Craven County championship if we don't win on Friday night. So it starts there.
Oh, Coach, I just want to remind everybody, 252 Fox Sports Radio, 107.5 FM, and of course on Facebook, Friday Night Football, and 252 Fox Sports. So find us there. Across the road from the Sound of Freedom will be the Sound of Friday Night Football, Havelock and West Craven. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me.
Hey, thanks for having us, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Jimmy L. Morris and Sons Contractors in Vanceboro, a proud supporter of West Craven Athletics, is building strong foundations for your grading and paving needs. Grading services are designed to provide a stable and level foundation for your construction projects, enhancing drainage, preventing erosion, and preparing your land for successful development. Jimmy L. Morris and Sons offers paving services that combine durability, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Call 252-670-6749, and let's lay the groundwork for success together.
At Bowden & Car Furniture, we're proud to support our local teams and wish you the best this season. As Eastern Carolina's largest authorized Lazy Boy dealer, we have a huge selection of genuine Lazy Boy recliners, sofas, sleeper sofas, sectionals, and more. Plus, beautiful row furniture. Custom order or take home today. Visit us in Havelock or online at bowdenandcarfurniture.com. Best of luck to all our local teams from Bowden & Car Furniture.
The goal of Atlantic Logging is to offer each of our customers a professional logging operation and top dollar for their timber. In short, you should have a peace of mind knowing that your timberland is contracted to be harvested with an extraordinary, well-trained, experienced, and dedicated logging company to get the job done in a time-efficient manner with precision and professionalism. Call 252-229-9997. Atlantic Logging is a proud supporter of West Craven Athletics.
Our experience, dedication to excellence, and project site cooperation set Bryn Glass apart from other glazing contractors. In business since 1989, Bryn Glass strives to provide a professional and pleasurable experience throughout the construction process. We invite you to visit our commercial gallery for an overview of our completed projects. The homeowner is the sole focus of our residential division. Through extensive conversation and planning sessions, we come to understand the look and feel a homeowner's desires. Our mirrors are all cut to fit the area, and we offer several edgework custom options for you. Our shower enclosures are all custom designed and fabricated to fit each application. There are numerous glass and metal surrounds for the shower of your dreams. As a finishing touch, we offer a wide variety of bath accessories. Call 252-637-4996 for Bryn Glass, a proud supporter of West Craven Athletics.
Have you had a review of your insurance policies recently? Hi, I'm Jim Robinson with Robinson & Stith Insurance. At Robinson & Stith Insurance, we understand the hard work that goes into securing your assets. Whether it is your home, car, business, or boat, you need insurance to protect your hard work. Robinson & Stith Insurance has been serving Eastern North Carolina's insurance needs since 1905. We believe it is not just the policy that serves you, but also the people. Our no voicemail policy means that whenever you call our office, you will speak to a live person who will be happy to help you. Our dedicated team of professionals is here to help and will be happy to provide no obligation reviews of your insurance coverages. Stop by and see us at 513 Pollock Street. Give us a call at 633-1174, 633-1174. Robinson & Stith Insurance, complete insurance since 1905. We want to earn your business.
This is David Fernandez, Athletic Director of the West Craven Eagles. Your home for West Craven Sports is 252 Fox Sports Radio, 107.5 FM.
Let's welcome the head football coach of the West Craven Eagles, Mike Twitchell, to the show. And Mike, first off, good afternoon. I'm excited to talk to you, Coach.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mark. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh man, well, look, as I've been telling folks, been covering football for 20 years in Eastern North Carolina, and so excited that this is a new era for Friday Night Football, and going to be for every West Craven football game, home and away, and very excited about that. So let's pick up there and just talk about this coming season. I know the last time we saw the football team last year was such an up and down year, Coach. You had injuries. It's such a roller coaster where you have some wins and then some injuries. You have some losses. You still find your way into the playoffs, get 2 playoff wins, and then fall short at Northeastern. But every year is a new story. And so while you've got a lot of returning players, talk to me about picking up from where you left off in the off season and some of the progress you've made since the last time we saw the football team in action.
Well, man, I think you hit it right. I mean, last year was kind of a year for unexpected for us, I guess. And you feel like you had it going early, and we had a really good spring before last year, and had some guys move on us and had some injuries, man. And it seemed like at every turn. I think last year we had one game on our schedule where we played our starting 11, and that was at Farmville. Was the only game all year we played our starting 11 on both sides of the ball. So yeah, it was a year of ups and downs. But I tell you, I thought the kids that were on that team returning, man, they're tougher from it. I think there's a little bit, I think they realize that everybody's important. Everybody's got a role to play in this program for us to be successful. And I just think there's been a lot of growth through some of those valleys that we saw last year.
Yeah, so when you look at that this year, where you've got some of a lot of those guys who went through that battle last year, and then some of the younger guys have made some progress. As I mentioned, the off season, again, it's all about staying healthy, and then players getting a little bit better. So talk to me about the optimism you've had again to this point before we start the season about how your team's grown.
Yeah, I think, we do have a lot of returns. So return. And I think, looking at us, right now, game one, everybody, we're going in healthy. Man, that's a great sign, coming off of last year. But, I think we're able to build some depth over the summer, which really helped us. Picked up some guys. We kind of had the move away bug there for a little while, just random stuff. And, ended up having, I think you had a 3-year starter coming back, and his family moves. That kind of had hurt us a little bit in years past, but this year we had some guys move to us that are going to play important roles in our team, and so we actually added a couple from what we thought we were going to have, and gave us a little bit more depth, and gave opportunity for some younger guys to play a little bit lesser role. And I think it's just you get those situations, man, where you get a couple extra, and improves your special teams, and improves your depth chart, and we're excited about where we're at right now.
I know. Look, I know it's a quarterback world, right? But and then you've got a guy who's a pretty good playmaker. Talk to me about, again, I think he'd be the first one to tell you that while he may get a lot of the headlines, whether it comes to, or even highlights, but whether it's the guys in front of him protecting him, or certainly a lot of those skill players, I think he's aware that the other 10 guys on the field on that unit are so important. But talk to me about your quarterback and how, again, obviously his success on the field individually is going to certainly be a big part of the team's success.
Yeah, I think you deal with, anytime you can snap the ball to a 3-year starter with the versatility that DJ Davis has, like you have the opportunity to be a really good offense. But that's like with his growth. The thing that's probably most people really don't is he's really not a stat chaser, right? He's really not worried about how many runs he gets or how many balls get thrown or how many passing yards he has, or I can only play this position. And, so that's really what people probably don't see. It's just how much of a winner he is and how winning is most important to him. He's a guy that's getting recruited by guys in the area, but he, like I said, if you need to play quarterback, if you need to play safety, whatever you need him to do to win, he's all in. And that's probably his biggest attribute. I think, he's a guy that, wherever the defense says the ball needs to go, that's where it's going. Right? We're not forcing anything. We feel like we have options. We have weapons around him. We've got some returners up front on the offensive line. And then I think some guys that have stepped in, that they're playing really well right now. So we feel good about it. And I think just having DJ there and his just winning mentality probably is what is going to propel that offense and our team to hopefully win some football games.
All right, Coach. There's so much, and I know this is our first conversation of the year. So let's take a minute though and just talk about it's the first game of the year. It is a trip across the county, and a familiar face with the Havelock Rams. And it's a two-part question. One is, that's going to be well attended even on the visitor side. It's one of the great environments that you'll play in all year. But certainly, again, a familiar face and a tough challenge always when you square off. So some thoughts about Havelock as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sasser Field's a tough place to get a win. And it is for anybody, no matter how big a school you are or where you come from, right? So we understand that, man. But, like I said, that's the games you want to play in. That's the teams you want to play. That's the coaching staffs you want to compete against. And to me, that's what makes high school football is the ability to put two really good programs in the same stadium when everybody feels like they're healthy and get after it, man. It's just we're very fortunate in Craven County to have the football that we have and to see games like this in non-conference early in the year, man. It's a real treat that I hope the community comes out and sees it.
Well, I know real quick, Art, but final question, Coach, for this week is going to be, look, the outcome of the game, everybody wants to win. And I know we talked about the health. I think obviously you want to get through every game as healthy as you can and mistakes. What do you want to see aside from those things, aside from the obvious things? What are you really looking forward to seeing from your team on the football field in Havelock tonight?
I just want to see us compete. I want to see us execute. Everybody's got a plan, right? We all watch film. We all, coaching staff, spend time away from our families on the weekends. I mean, players spend time watching and preparing. And just to come out here and compete and represent our community well and just execute the plan. I think we're hyper-focused on playing in the 15th game of the year. As this game is very important, it's not most important. And, our goal and everything we talk about is giving ourselves the opportunity to play in the 15th game of the year. But starting strong and, being able to get a win down there, build some confidence, I think we'll go a long way in reaching that goal.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I want to tell you again, looking forward to talking to you throughout the year and looking forward to the game as well. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, that is it. That's it for our Friday. But don't you go anywhere because I got a little bit of time. I got to travel over to Havelock High School tonight, and we want you to tune in tonight for Friday Night Football, 7 o'clock kickoff. So you want to tune in a little bit earlier? For sure. 107.5 FM, 1490 AM, where we're going to have coverage of the West Craven Eagles and the Havelock Rams tonight. Find 252 Fox Sports on Facebook and Friday Night Football. Have a great weekend. Tune in tonight for Friday Night Football, West Craven and Havelock. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on The Drive.
The Drive with Mark Panichelli is an exclusive, original presentation of the 252 Network.